Okay, so I'll, writing the bytecode encoding this week. I fetched the compiler on the user space side, so you can compile any instruction to our own bytecode language, and the encode is just give me a sec. Jason, you had a look at it, right? Encoding. Alexander, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I had a look at that, and I forwarded it to Jason uh, in that meeting this morning / last night.
Okay. So, yeah. So I upgraded the compiler suite on the user space. I'm using Live right now, so Python syntax. Um, and next, what I got to do is modify the interpreter to understand new bytecodes. So that's the next thing. After that, we can start adding other PWMs and analog in our own instruction, etc. So I'm guessing the complete language architecture should be completed soon. After that, we'll just have functionality.
Cool.
Chris, I had a small question. For example, in all the arithmetic instructions, when you do say add a comma b, you said your doc says it returns value of a plus b. So I was wondering whether it adds b to a, or whether it just returns a value or modifies any of the operands.
Sorry, say that again. What I returned the value for? What's the what are you sending?
Say the command is add variable a or variable b. So I was wondering whether the add instruction will modify any of the variables, or whether just returns a b.
If you're doing a get variable b, it should just give you the variable. It shouldn't change the variable at all. I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
You're saying with arithmetic commands, right? Uh-oh.
I think we might have lost him.
I think what he was asking was if you do like an add a comma b, does it
Oh,
just? Oh yeah, you just logged out.
yeah. Does it give you back the variable or the sum?
Right. Or does it do anything in place? Maybe or.
I believe it returns. It doesn't have any stack of any sort. So I believe it just returned. I'd have to go double check, but I'm
Right.
99% positive it just returns the sum. So if you have variable, if you have add a comma b, it adds b to a, sticks it in a, and returns the sum that is now in a.
Oh, okay, it sticks it in A. Okay. Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So maybe I can text that to him.
Yeah. Oh, Chris. Um, a question came
Yeah.
up this week for you. So when you are um, initializing an array, What's the so on the what is it botspeak.org? Is that right?
Yeah.
It just find it here. Where's the definition? It should have been there. Well, I can't find it now on the site, but it said something along the lines of set variable name underbar size. I think it was.
Yes. This is probably the array stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to have input on a new way of doing this. So the way I was doing it is when you declare an array, it automatically takes whatever name you have in the array, call it Fred, and declares a variable Fred underscore size, which has the size of the array, and then the following n bytes are to the array Fred.
Right.
So it keeps them all sequentially, and you have one pointer. And I've played around with 2 pointers too to get 2-dimensional arrays, so we can do like a lot of controls as matrix based.
Yeah.
But I never got it to work all that well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean I guess the question around that was whether or not it's sort of an array is explicitly declared with its entire size all at once, right off the bat, which it seemed like it was.
Correct, it is, yes.
Yeah, which makes the memory management a whole lot simpler.
Exactly. And so what I would do if you want to do dynamic array sizing is that I would just keep, I would do a complete reallocation every, if you exceeded the existing size.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my feeling was that, at least for a sort of first whack at this, was that if you, for instance, did had an array of size 10 and then did a set, array index 11, it would just overwrite whatever variable was next.
So I actually, in the Arduino code and the BeagleBone code, I would actually not do anything in that case. But
okay.
I mean, it'd be great to throw errors. I haven't implemented all those errors in there.
Sure.
But
yeah,
I do,
so that involves keeping track of the size of the array as well.
Which the first element is essentially the size. That's why you do that underscore size.
Okay, so you're just right in the. Okay, cool.
I just have seen too many cases where people will do 11 and all of a sudden it'll overwrite something that just completely makes everything go haywire and they have no clue why.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's good to know. Yeah. So that answers another question I had, which was whether it would be possible just to have basically arrays be sort of only a notion at the compiler level. So array index 1 is really just the base address plus 1 and gets turned into a variable address. I guess it still is. It's just plus 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the reason I did it this way is I figured you could expose it however you wanted. So where I want to have kids actually thinking about arrays, they do the array and they don't realize it's just a pointer, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. I was playing around with ideas recently of I'd really like, especially for the BeagleBone, I might like to have array elements instead of being 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, be quote P 9_18 or something like that.
Right.
And then have a lookup table that flips them. But I've just started messing with that.
Yeah, I mean that could certainly be done at compiler level.
Right. It would all be at compiler level. Yes. Correct.
Yeah. It is a neat idea.
Oh wow. We've got all sorts of stuff from Deepak.
Okay.
So when can we get one of these to play with? Do you have a version yet you're playing with?
Yeah, I actually just the other day got it all built on my system, and have run the Blink program, which was very exciting. So the
Cool.
interpreter still only has a few things implemented, just like set DIO and wait and like go to.
So it's looking like he's using a new set of opcodes. Is that right?
Yeah, you got that link. Yeah. So this is his way of bypassing TinySpeak
Right.
to get the full bot speak implementation, basically, as well as to make almost all instructions fit in 32 bits.
Oh, okay.
So he's just got a couple that are that exceed that, and so that goes to 64 bits. Is the
Got it.
idea.
Okay. I'll go through and check all this out.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Cool.
Yeah, so the one thing in here that could definitely be simplified is that some of that array logic can get pushed out of this into the compiler, because there is some array handling right in this command set.
I don't see what the advantage would be.
To what?
I mean, the only advantage of doing the array stuff on the PRU is that then if you're doing variable indices,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that
the compiler can still handle that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, because this way, I guess it should. So he has a flag to say what type the variable is, basically, which I guess you'd still want because you'd want to know to look at that length value, the length byte.
Right.
But past that,
Right.
it doesn't need to be, 2 bytes for an array. It only needs 1 byte.
Right.
For the absolute address.
I would agree.
Yeah, but I definitely don't see any flaws with this mapping.
So what compiler are you talking about? Trying to catch up. I hope it's not too much.
So we're looking at that his encoding document. I'll put the link in here. And we were just talking about ways to simplify this a bit more, namely with array handling.
So Deepak is only on by messaging right now?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull off because I got to go to my gate.
Okay.
Okay.
In case you guys are wondering, it's a beautiful day over here in Zurich.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for the info, and I will relay all that to Deepak.
Cool. And hopefully he will email me. I'll ask him to email me a link, and then I can play with it myself some too, which would be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Okay. See ya.
Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, sure. See ya.
So it's I'm looking at the codes now, so it looks like he's gotten a few more in here, but where's the big
Yeah. Yeah, these aren't all implemented in the interpreter either yet. I think it's still just like set DIO, wait, and go to.
well, what is it with compilation though? Are you talking about compilation or are you talking about tokenizing?
Well, tokenizing, technically, I guess. I'm using the term compile loosely here.
Okay. It's just because when I hear compiling, I'm thinking that you're actually going down to machine code.
Right. Yeah, no, it's, yes, this tokenizing, this token mapping. But, yes, so replace compiler with tokenizer and everything, I said.
Okay.
Yeah, so the main thing we were talking about is with arrays, if you look at, for instance, the set 1.c here in the document, this can be simplified even more by just having a single byte for the array index, which is just the absolute address, since it's just a flat chunk of memory for all the variables.
You mean after it's interpreted, after it's tokenized, it's a single
Yeah.
address?
Yeah, it can be tokenized right to the absolute address of that, that index, that value.
And there's not an array move operation or anything like that.
No, well, if there is, I haven't seen it. Based on what I've seen of the bot-speak definition, there's no dynamic array operations.
How come if it's a 64-bit operation, the operand is still doesn't have the high order bit set? Shouldn't it be like opcode 92?
Yeah, that's what. That was one of my comments on this. Was that it should really just be a reserved bit in the opcode byte that says grab the next 32 bits as well.
Yeah, because he was telling me the high order bit says that it's a 64-bit instruction, so why not just make the opcode listed right here as being 92?
Yeah.
Hex. Okay. All right, that's good. A good change. What is a reserved array? I hadn't heard of these.
Where's that?
2.
Oh, I think he means like PWM and DIO. I'm not seeing it though.
Okay.
Res is a reserve. Yeah. So the
So they're set to memory and then set to peripheral.
Say that again.
There's number 1 is set to memory and number 2 is set to peripheral.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, whereas those reserved arrays don't even need to be arrays. It's just tells the interpreter to do that.
I'm worried about DIO because I think I think right now he's only got the R30 and R31 for pure U0. I'm not sure if it's pure U0 or pure U1. I think pure U1 actually has more IOs.
Oh, really?
But I think that the GPIOs need to be put in here as well, like all the GPIOs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not convinced there's much of a need to even use the R30 and R31, at least for now. It would be, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't even know if it would be a speed advantage running from within the interpreter.
Yeah, given the interpreter, it may not be that huge of a speed advantage. I would think that we could. I think it's still worth reserving it because I think over time we could really optimize the interpreter some to make it where it is a speed advantage.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at some applications like where I've got this lighting stuff that I'm doing with all the LED panels, and I would love to rewrite it in PRUspeak so that it's easier for people to understand.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things there I really need is a write GPIO bank instead of just a writing GPIO. I need to write I need to be able to write the whole bank at once.
Right.
So hopefully there's a place in that I can that there's enough reserved space or that the opcodes are neatly aligned enough that I can go ahead and do that as well. So he's asking us a few questions in the chat. Maybe we should repeat them and answer them by voice and by message. If he was here, I'd tell him this, but I think he's a little bit overconfident.
Yeah.
His comment is, after completing digital in, analog in, PWM, what do you want him to do? Seems like giving it a user interface would be a nice idea.
Yeah. Have you compiled and played with this stuff yet?
Yeah, but not since he fixed weight. So that was I haven't done it since he put in the timer.
Okay. Yeah, I just ran I did that the other day. Got it all set up, and ran the blink script, and then was able to execute single instructions while it was running, which was exciting. Yeah. So it is working.
So I just asked him, what does he mean by because he asked about DI, AI, and PWM.
Right.
So I asked him if he meant that he was going to get the second PRU in there to do the dedicated PWM functions.
Yeah, I can't remember. What was the verdict, or was there a verdict on what way to do PWM first? Was it software PWM in PRU 2 or 1? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think it was to do the other PRU, but it seems like he should. For the ones with hardware PWM, it should have the ability to do hard PWM. So he just asked how many outputs can you do with the hard PWM, and my understanding is that there's 8.
There's 8. I can only think of 6 right now.
There's.
I know that there's the 4 enhanced high resolution outputs, right, and then the.
But each of those. Well, there's
2 modules each with 2 outputs.
But there's 3 modules each with 2 outputs.
There's the ECAP.
No, there's 3. There's 3 EH.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, there's 0, 1, and 2, and then there's the 2 ECAPs.
Oh, I didn't even know 0 was accessible.
My understanding is that's what it is. I've got a map of the ones that I think are there on beagleboard.org. It's Bone support Bone 101 #headers. Actually, I think even if you do #PWM, no, maybe it's headers. There we go. Share this.
Ah, no PWM 0. I gotta update PyBBIO. Missing 2 pins. I'm still not clear on how the hard PWM would work, though. In terms of, working alongside the PWM kernel driver.
In what way? I mean, if you just happen to select one of those pins, it would just grab it, right? Or I think you're going to have to pick which one, because some of these go out multiple pins. I think you'd have to pick which pin is going to be the one for the hard PWM. And if you do the other one, it would be soft PWM.
Right. Well, I guess maybe the universal cape would solve the problems I'm thinking of. I'm not sure. Is that still the direction that things are headed?
Yes, universal cape is definitely the way things are headed.
Okay.
I just need to really get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I've been meaning to contribute to that too. There's some missing things.
Yeah, I didn't need it. So I did a test where I pushed a bunch of it into the base DTB, but and started using config pin, and all that stuff was working great. What I haven't had a chance to do is look at how it deals with conflicts when loading a bunch of different capes. And that's what I sent the call out to the mailing list for. Is hey, could people try this DTB and see how it interferes with their capes?
Oh.
Because I'm afraid it means changing all of the cape overlays to avoid conflicts on those.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, I was thinking it would mean just ignoring the cape overlays, because if the universal cape had everything in it, because we're not, obviously no one's going to be doing real low power applications with the BeagleBone, so I don't see a real problem with having basically every module enabled.
Yeah, it's yeah, it definitely makes low power more of a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you would need. I think instead of a dedicated overlay, you would just need a shell script along with your cape that runs the config pin and sets everything up.
So Deepak is questioning whether or not anybody would ever use that many PRUs, and I'm telling him absolutely. I mean, I'm not PRUs, sorry, PWMs.
Right. Servos, yes.
So I'm telling him absolutely for setting servos. You could have, like, if you had a spider bot, you might have 3 servos per leg and 8 legs, or maybe it's maybe it's just a 6-legged spider bot, which,
Yeah.
So, I guess an insect bot there. And so that's if you 3 times 6, you're up to 18 PWMs.
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's value to being able to do all the PWMs. I also think that the way a lot of this is ultimately going to be used is that people are going to want to put additional code onto that second PRU for some other tasks, maybe not pulse width modulation, but maybe like some real-time pulse width measurement or some other things too, right? So I think the architecture in general is useful. All right, you have the one PRU gathering the commands and doing the immediate things, and then the other PRU kind of going off and doing some more, a more constrained inner loop.
Yeah, yeah, that's a functionality I'd really like to see here. Is yeah, the ability to sort of have user drivers. I don't. That's not implemented in BotSpeak, right? There's no form of libraries.
No, nothing like that. It's just the interpreter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to, include the shift register library or something like that.
Right.
And maybe that's just an assembly driver or a compiled C driver running on the second PRU, and then some sort of messaging protocol between them.
And as long as we have a ton of free opcode space, where it kind of makes it easy to to plug it into the architecture, those can be added on an as-needed basis. So all you have to do is, like, you can use the basic, PRUspeak infrastructure, and sure, it's a template if you want to go ahead and replace all the code on the PRU, but if all you want to do is add this one extra little function.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it actually is if the variable space is shared between the two PRUs, then you could really easily just do implement the interface yourself.
So Deepak is confusing me a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's really hard to do software PWM drivers, you're saying?
I think it's the combination of hard and soft that he's objecting to. I'm not really clear on that. And he's talking about something that Panto wants to do with just-in-time compilation. And I don't know if that JIT is just for the second PRU or...
Right. Yeah, I think if I remember right, he was envisioning a more general, like just-in-time compiler using the same compile and upload framework.
So I'm asking him if the just-in-time code stuff is something that runs on the second PRU. And then we keep the main interpreter running on that first PRU.
Right.
Kind of as the traffic copy intermediary, and we have ways to issue it commands.
I think the just-in-time part is outside of the scope of this project.
That's what I'm feeling, is that we're really feeling a lot of scope creep, and I'm fine with kind of thinking about some of these things and ahead of time, but I'm really concerned that, I mean, we're already halfway through this, more than halfway through this, and I really don't know that Deepak's going to finish the base functionality because of all these distractions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I want to do on top of it too, like for automated code generation within the JavaScript or Python environments, where you could actually build up the scripts from either Python or JavaScript code, and but we've got to have this basic interpreter, running and ready to be extended.
Yep. I wonder.
I mean, and also that set of basic I/O libraries. I mean, for doing the GPIO, the A to Ds. If that stuff doesn't get moved over, then
yeah.
How do we work out priority with Panto? Because since he's not on here.
Well, I mean, I think that the the current top priority should be to, now that he's got this this opcode definition, is to get this stuff implemented. I mean, he's got the basic outline for user interface.
All right, I'm suggesting you take this conversation over to the IRC, and maybe we could stop the video chat since it's just us.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex. Talk to you
Yep.
soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.